Two and a half of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Yeah, normally we only have 2 hours, but being that we're here at SEC Media Days, we are giving you a full 90-minute show this week from the College Football Hall of Fame. Of course, today's coverage brought to you and presented by Bryant Bank. 2 locations in Huntsville, 1 coming soon in Athens. BryantBank.com. It's like joining a community bank that greets you by name, treats you like family. Their local bankers put care into action to empower your potential and work to be a collaborative partner that is helping you and your family build confidence for a bright future. Bryant Bank, our presenting sponsor here for Day 3 of SEC Media Days. And Day 3, we'll see the kings of the conference right now because they are the defending national champions. The Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart and company, finding home here inside the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it was going to be, we had a lot of juice with Alabama here yesterday, but now the defending national champions are going to be here in their backyard in Atlanta. The Georgia Bulldogs. It seemed more crowded this morning, more traffic on the trek from our palatial estate to back here to the.
That may have been Atlanta traffic, though, by the way, too.
And then it just seemed like the more people in the parking deck because Kirby Smart's going to be here. And he's going to be taking the stage in about 25 minutes. And our next guest is the managing editor of UGAsports.com, been a huge part of our show. Since I started this deal 7 years ago, we try to catch up with him each and every year, also here at SEC Media Days. And Anthony Dasher's taking some time before Kirby Smart takes the podium. Anthony, welcome back. How are you, man?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great.
Big day for you guys.
Yeah,
big day for Georgia, huh?
Because since Kirby Smart took over this program in 2016 after leading Alabama to a national title in 2015, they have gotten better incrementally and taken steps every year as a program, in my opinion. I know they had the near miss in 2017, but he's been able to keep them among the elite. They kicked the door down in this past January to win it all for the first time since 1980. Now the next step is to prove they can stay on top, stay there. Probably the toughest thing to do when you become king because everybody shoots for you, Anthony. But again, a huge challenge for Kirby. And how do you see that right now?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge challenge. And of course, this is Kirby's first time at Georgia anyway, and the Georgia players for having to do that. How are those guys going to respond? It's a lot different animal, as you just said. Going from being 100 to 100.
Yeah,
Georgia, is going to be everybody's big game this year. How will the players respond? The players and the coaches have spent all season long, people congratulating and getting pats on the back. I mean, winning the school's first national title in 41 years, and Coach talked about that a little bit earlier today. With the beat writers, and he said, he's probably got a gazillion handshakes and stuff since the end of the game, and he was saying every time somebody told him congratulations, he'd go out and call 3 more recruits. And he told his players, if somebody tells you congratulations, go out and do 3 more things to make you a better football player. So that's kind of the mindset they're trying to take right now. I mean, there's no doubt the Georgia fan base is still basking in the glory of winning a championship. But Georgia, as far as the players go, the coaches, they have certainly turned the page on this thing, and they're ready to get cranking on another season.
And go ahead, Scott.
So you did have a chance to visit with Kirby already. What other kind of stuff did he kind of go over this morning?
Just a little basic stuff. Of course, there's some conversation about his contract. He's getting the contract extension, which could put him around $10 million a year.
Oh, no shock.
Georgia's, president back at the board meeting back in a couple of months ago said it should be happening anytime. As we sit here today, the contract has not been, signed yet, but it will be. I mean, that's something that's the last thing Georgia fans need to worry about. Kirby Smart is certainly not, worried about that. Of course, Jimmy Sexton is his agent, and they're just dotting I's and crossing T's. And I fully expect here in a couple of weeks you'll hear Kirby Smart has re-up with Georgia for some big time bucks.
Well, he deserves it, winning the national championship. Now, we've already talked about it. Just because you win one doesn't make you an elite coach, and I'm not pointing at Kirby. What I'm saying is we've seen that Ogeron and Gene Chizik could not continue to feed the beast. Kirby, he and his players were you brought it up at the start of our segment. They were asked a ton last year and in years before, are you ever going to win the national championship? Are you going to get over the hump? You've made the playoff. You've won the SEC, but when are you going to win it all? Now they've won it all, and now, though, this is the next step for proving if Kirby's really one of the top, and I've still got to say Nick Saban's one, but
Sure.
2 to 3 coaches in the sport.
Sure.
If you're going to make the playoff again, if you're going to win the SEC again, win a national championship, win multiple national championships, and be up there with a Nick Saban and a Dabo Swinney.
No doubt. If you're going to be one of the elite coaches, you've got to be there every single year. You can't, win a title, take a 2 or 3 years off, get back, in year 4, year 5. You've got to be there every single year. And I do think through recruiting, Kirby has gotten Georgia at that point. Now, they still got to go out and win football games, but they have done everything, I think, humanly possible to put themselves in a position to be up there with Alabama. Not saying they're going to beat Alabama every year. That's, not going to be that silly and say that. But they have got Georgia in a position where the talent, the facilities, the money, the buy-in, everything is at Georgia for this program to be successful for years to come.
Is that why when we look at Georgia this year, and I know – when we talk Alabama and they come off a national title and they lose so many guys to the NFL draft, they lose so many guys to graduation, it's like, okay, is this team going to take a step back? And we're used to Alabama not taking that step back. Georgia lost an incredible amount of guys off that defense.
Crazy.
But Georgia has recruited so well over the past few years that should we look at them like we look at an Alabama, that, hey, this Georgia team is coming in this year. They're still very talented. Yes, they lost a lot of guys. Yes, the inexperience is going to be there because of, we may not know these names yet, but this group is very talented that's going to be on the field this year.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that this year's defense is going to be as good as last year's defense.
No.
Last year's defense, I think, was indeed generational. I hate to even throw that out there. But you look at what they ultimately did, I think it's kind of hard to argue against that. But Georgia does, as I just mentioned. They recruited extremely well. And a lot of these players, people may not really know their names. They do have Nolan Smith. They do have, Carter,
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter, at the defensive tackles, I think has a chance to be an All-American. They've got some other very good players. But they have recruited extremely well over the past, since Kirby has been there. They're just going to replace those guys with more 4-star, 5-star kids. But I do think it's going to become kind of up to the offense a little bit, at least early on, to maybe kind of carry the load until this young defense kind of gets its footing a little bit. I mean, it's a defense I think will get better as the year goes along. But offensively, I think this team actually has a chance to be better than it was a season ago.
And that's a perfect segue because you've covered this team for a long time, and I never saw it coming. How remarkable was the story? And I know you're trying to put last year in the past, but still, the rise of Stetson Bennett, what he did to cement the national championship, the throw he made to Di Mitchell.
Yeah.
Just talk about his story, which is really a remarkable one and going to be for a long time in Georgia football.
It's a modern-day Rudy.
Right.
Really, I don't mean that in a derogatory toward Stetson. But, again, you're talking about a kid who was a 2-star. I think he had offers from Furman, maybe Coastal Carolina, and, before last year, the most thing Stetson Bennett was famous for was back in 2017 at the Rose Bowl when he was the quarterback emulating Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
They had him running Baker Mayfield plays to get the defense ready for the Rose Bowl game against the Sooners that year. But yeah, he's a guy who's 5'11", 195 pounds. He's probably the only quarterback in my 20-plus years of covering Georgia football I actually look down to. Now, again, that's not a knock.
Just because he's not a big guy. I mean, and he leaves to go to junior college and comes back.
He comes back, signs a scholarship. We know they didn't offer him one to begin with, and just something incredible. And all this time, too, you've got Georgia fans who are wondering out loud. They talk to me all the time. When is JT Daniels going to take back the quarterback role? This was a constant topic. I mean, throughout the playoffs.
Even this last year,
going to the playoffs last year, there were rumors that JT Daniels was going to pop out of the woodwork and put on a Superman cape and lead Georgia to a win over Michigan.
He was too busy taking nerve medication.
I mean, seriously. But Stetson, what he did though, it was I hate to get all hyperbolic on you with this, but it was just really an amazing thing, and props to him. South Georgia kid, loves University of Georgia. It's just crazy what he's able to accomplish.
He went from that walk-on role where it was the pressure wasn't greatly on him because the defense was so good last year. They could alleviate some of that pressure. Now this year, he may be counted on early. He may have a little bit more pressure on him, but Bryce Young's a Heisman Trophy winner, one of the best offensive players. Georgia may have the 1B when it comes to offensive talent in tight end in Brock Bowers. Good gracious, we saw him up close and personal in the national championship game. Oh my goodness! What a talent that he has to rely on.
They call him Baby Gronk, and at first I didn't buy into that, but I do now. But don't forget about Darnell Washington. Don't forget about Arik Gilbert.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Arik now
Oscar
gone from
Dale.
300 pounds to get back into playing
It's
shape.
going to be really interesting to see how they utilize these three guys. I mean, these are by themselves. They're going to be a problem. They would be a problem for any defensive coordinator. All three on the field, perhaps at the same time. I mean, this could be.
I'm going
special.
to ask you a question because Scott started it with this comment because we were sitting in the end zone at the national championship game, and you got to cover him from the jump. So you saw him in practice, you saw him at every game.
Not so much in practice, but yeah.
Well, I'm just
I won't go there.
and hearing things, but Scott and I had never seen him live.
Yes.
It doesn't do you justice until you see Bowers live to see how good he is.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something that some Georgia fans may think is crazy. I think before it's all said and done, he's going to be right under Herschel as one of the greatest players in Georgia history. He is so talented, Anthony. The touchdown he scored where he ran over and juked 3 Alabama defenders, I mean, that came right at us. And I'm sitting here going, that's not normal. I mean, I don't understand how he wasn't a 5-star coming out of high school. He's a freakazoid football player. I mean, he was what I thought Isaac Nada was going to be. He is.
Yeah,
he is a completely game-changing player.
I don't think anybody was prepared for what he was going to bring to the team. Now, we knew coming in high school he would do things like return kicks. He would play linebacker on defense. He was doing all different kind of things. But the level, I think is what really shocked everybody. Not only because this is a guy that goes and makes catches at the highest point of the ball. He's not just running around there and Stetson dumping the ball, in his belly.
Right.
He's making plays. He is outrunning cornerbacks. He is outrunning, safeties. He's outrunning defenses. There were 3 or 4 plays last year where he just – I don't know if you remember, there was a couple. One against Georgia Tech and one against Vanderbilt.
The
one against Georgia Tech where he just went right down the middle of the field, hit a seam, and just ran by 5 guys.
I mean, it's just – he is a tremendous talent. Well, and just talk about that. Talk about him. They lost some guys. I was a huge James Cook fan, and he's gone. I think his role was underrated. But McIntosh has kind of been waiting there. He and, talk about this backfield now because Zeus is gone, so is James. But I know there's some guys been waiting in the weeds like a McIntosh to have a bigger role.
Yeah, just like at Alabama, too. I mean, they always going to have some good running backs, and Georgia will, again, have good running backs. Kenny McIntosh, you mentioned, probably a bigger version of James Cook. Kenny goes about 6'1", about 205, 210 pounds. Could do the exact same thing that James did. Kendall Milton is a guy, former 5-star. Had a couple of meniscus issues his freshman and sophomore year, but he's another big back, 6'1", 225 pounds. Can just really, get it done. They got Dejon Edwards. He was from down in Colquitt County in Moultrie, Georgia. It's really been effective when he's played. And they've got the 2 5-stars. They signed, one of them's a 5-star, the Robinson kid, and then Andrew Paul, the kid they got from Texas. Another couple of backs who go 6 foot, 225 pounds. So they're deep. I think they've got just as much talent, and we'll see. Like I said, I think the offense can be pretty good this year.
Well, and talk about the coaching change because this is inevitable. You're going to have guys wanted. Matt Luke takes a step away, which was surprising. I still think if he had stayed, Arch Manning might have even gone to Georgia. Possibly. And then, though, Dan Lanning was a huge part of the success, that generational defense. We know Kirby's heavily involved and heavy-handed. But as we were saying coming into your segment, though, Will Muschamp there now, a lot of experience for him, a lot of big-time defenses he's been a part of. But talk about the staff.
Yeah, the staff is like I said, they've got 4 new assistant coaches on the team this year, and Coach Muschamp is now the co-defensive coordinator with Glenn Schumann.
Yeah, Schuman's been there.
Still not sure who's going to call the defense play, but I would assume it's going to probably be Will. I mean, I think he had did a little bit of that even last year when Dan was the defensive coordinator. But they've been very impressed with the coach they brought in. They all had that same kind of energy, high energy level, that Kirby pretty much demands of all his coaches. And so far, what we understand, the transition has been very, very smooth.
And then talk about the schedule real quick.
Yeah.
Interesting opener. I called it the Kirby Bowl because, ironically, Bo Nix there and Dan Lanning, the head coach of the Ducks.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun game. I mean, you couldn't have, I guess, written up any better to have your former defensive coordinator come in and be your first opponent for the first game. Oregon is, of course, be some familiarity there with the quarterback Bo Nix, who Georgia's had some pretty good success of, when he was at Auburn. But it's a team, of course, they just went through that terrible tragedy with a player, passing away a couple of weeks ago. That was just heartbreaking on any level to see. But after that, the schedule, I think it sets up, pretty good. They do go to South Carolina for the first conference game of the year. And I know some people, downstairs on the SEC Network, they're really pumping up the Gamecocks right now. I'm still not sure if they're quite ready for prime time yet in that regard. But they do get, Tennessee's at home this year. They do have to go to Georgia. Does have to go to Mississippi State, which, occasionally can be an interesting contest there in Starkville. But overall, I think the schedule sets up very well for Georgia to make possibly make another good run.
And then play Alabama, we think, again in Atlanta.
Yeah,
it
seems to be inevitable, doesn't it? I mean, really, I think that's how it's going to go.
Well, Anthony, we appreciate. We know you got to get back down there to hear some more from Kirby Smart, but to let everybody know how to connect with UGA Sports, we always appreciate your time.
Yeah, anytime at all.
All right, thanks. All right, let's get a break in.
Anthony Dasher.
Let's get a break in. More from SEC Media Days when we return. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. Day 3 of SEC Media Days live from the College Football Hall of Fame. And coming up here in just a few minutes, Kirby Smart is going to meet the media, and we will hear everything Kirby Smart has to say. That'll come up here in about 8 minutes. But the story now that is kind of making its way and its rounds
just a shocker here
through SEC Media Days, and we are looking at the mugshot from Brazos County Jail in Texas. Texas A&M wide receiver Anais Smith, who is supposed to be here tomorrow.
Dynamic player.
Yes, with Texas A&M, was arrested early Wednesday morning in Brazos County for driving while intoxicated, unlawful carrying of a weapon, and for possession less than 2 ounces of marijuana. No surprise here, our good friend Brent Zorneman of the Houston Chronicle was the first one to report this one. A junior out of Missouri, Texas. He did start all 12 games for the Aggies last season, leading the team with 47 receptions, 6 receiving touchdowns. He ranked second on the squad with 509 receiving yards. And again, he was scheduled to be one of 3 players here to represent the Aggies tomorrow at SEC Media Days. I'm not laughing at a light of the situation. I am just laughing at the fact that he will not be here tomorrow.
Yeah, and we talked about the great discipline that Dirt Neck had at Florida State. Looks like it's bleeding over into the Texas A&M Aggies. Matter of fact, I thought maybe it teleported into the elevator I was in last night.
No.
But I don't know.
Yes, there was a rather earthy smell in the elevator.
Earthy, yeah.
But let's set it up, though. It's a parking garage in downtown Atlanta.
Parking garage. We had nothing to do with that, and we're not throwing anyone else under the bus, except for Anais now that he's been caught with wacky tobacco. But I mean, I got to tell you, and now this is all these teams flying. He wasn't here yet. If he had come the night before, then maybe he would have been the one in the elevator. But I don't know. But he won't be here tomorrow.
No,
we don't
he
think.
will not be. You don't think?
Yeah,
we pretty much know he will not be here tomorrow.
Yeah, Dirt Neck's going to have to find a replacement really quickly to bring here. And I guess that'll be another question he's asked about is his discipline policies and what may happen to Anais Smith going forward in this season. For Texas ATM. And I mean, I don't know what kind of NIL deal did he have. I mean, you could ask that what the Aggie Collective had given Anais Smith. I don't know. We're going to talk to Owen Buchanan in hour 1 tomorrow, and he knows the Aggies better than anyone. He's always told me how good a player Anais is, and I agree. I think he's dynamic, but now he's not going to be here tomorrow. Probably going to be suspended to start the season. Of course, I've already had someone send me a message and joke that he'll probably be suspended for the first series of the fall scrimmage. We'll see if he's suspended for a game. He should be. I mean, it's just an unfortunate situation for Texas ATM because, again, we know that Dirt Neck is probably going to have some difficult questions thrown his way tomorrow about Nick Saban and what happened in the offseason. But this is just another situation to have to deal with, and it's one where there's a lot of pressure on Texas ATM. A lot of people picking them to even make the college football playoff. But now one of your leaders you were going to bring to SEC Media Days, one of your best players, has run afoul of the law.
That's the thing. Generally, the players that appear here in Hoover, I did it. It's the first time in 3 days that I said that.
First time in 3 days. We're at the College Football Hall of Fame here in Atlanta.
But generally the players that are here are players that are selected because of several qualities. One, their leadership ability, that the coach is counting on them to be a leader throughout the year. Two, they're usually good guys. And I'm not saying Anais Smith is not a good guy. He ran afoul, got in trouble with the law last night. Not saying he's not a bad kid. But generally, when you are here, it is a reward. And so obviously he will not be here tomorrow. Texas A&M. Now, Jimbo Fisher is going to have to address that situation because it will get asked. Undoubtedly, it will get asked about it. What's the latest and everything? And in case you are wondering, Jimbo Fisher and company open with Sam Houston State, Appalachian State, and then they have Miami. First 3 games
in the NIL Bowl.
Oh wow! Wow. Mm-hmm. We had Catholics versus convicts back in the 80s, 90s, with Notre Dame and Miami.
Dirt Neck University versus Ruiz University.
I like the NIL Bowl, though.
Yeah, it's the NIL Bowl. There's no doubt about it. It's hard to root for either one of them. You want to puke.
I don't know. In that game, though, someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. They both
I've
aren't
already
going to
made the
take an
statement
L.
on this show. I'm going to be rooting for Ruiz, the Hurricanes, because I'd like to see Dirt Neck go 0-12. I don't think he will, even though at this rate, if everybody continues to run afoul of the law, he might not have a team out there. But still,
it's one player.
It's one player.
It is just one player, and I
think the culture's fractured though, because I don't think Jimbo
really,
cares.
Though. Really?
I mean, he's too busy
Wait a
counting
minute, though.
Jimmy Sexton's money.
Wait a minute. So on the Anais, is it because of Anais Smith getting arrested? You think the culture is fractured at Texas A&M?
Yes, it is.
Alabama's had a player arrested during the offseason.
I know they have, but they don't think about what he had at Florida State and where that is now.
Okay.
And what happened. Anais Smith is one of his leaders, one of his best players. Think about how Jameis Winston acted at times at Florida State. And that's a reflection on your head coach and not having everybody toe on the line.
Behaviors.
It's called Texas ATM, brought to you by X Amount Company from Lie Detector University or whatever. I don't know what is there. Could we Google that? Can we find out a company that makes lie detectors so I could come up with that to be the sponsor? Because Dirt Neck talks tough, but I'm telling you, he would flunk a lie detector test. I don't really know the companies that make those, so I can't really quote one right now. But I'm just serious.
Boy.
I'm telling you. Dirt Neck is a fraud, and he was a fraud at Florida State. He's a fraud now, and I don't think he's going to have a great football team. I think they'll be 8-4 at best. Again, I don't think he's going to beat Arkansas. I don't think he's going to beat Alabama.
Well, there are okay, so if you wanted to, okay.
How much do they cost?
I'm not going to name. I don't know, but in Huntsville, there are polygraph services that we could hire. And
P7 multi-sensors.
I know, but there's polygraph services in Huntsville we could hire, and we could all caravan to.
We need a sponsor for that so we can go to see Dirt Neck.
There are several services in Huntsville that do polygraph tests.
Yeah.
If you would want to, we could reach them out and see if we could drive to College Station with them. And if Jimbo Fisher would agree, we would sit down with him with a polygraph. But
we don't need a polygraph for our next guest because Kirby Smart is about to take the podium and talk about his defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, he's getting close. We're waiting for the commissioner to get up and do the introduction like he has so gracefully done with every coach.
Yep.
And the commissioner was just up here a few minutes ago. And in case you did not miss it, or in case you did miss it, Drew and I did have a chance to sit down with SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey and get his thoughts. And we will have that. We have that available for you. Check our Twitter page and follow the link to listen to everything that we asked Greg Sankey. So at 977 ESPN on our Twitter page. And you can click on the link and hear all of the conversation. A great 15-minute candid conversation with Greg Sankey on name, image, and likeness, future scheduling, and his role in letting coaches back into the league once they run afoul, since that's what we are on right now in the SEC.
It really is, and we look forward to hearing from Kirby Smart. You'll hear that live in its entirety on 97.7 The Zone. He's defending the national championship, taking that next step as a program to become truly elite, become one of the elite coaches in America, which many people believe he is. He beat his mentor, Nick Saban, for the first time in Indianapolis, and we look forward to hearing him, and we want to thank Anthony Dasher for joining us and previewing the Dogs for us today, Mark McLeod, Talkin Gators, our phone callers, and, of course, we heard from Sam Pittman. It's been a great show.
Yeah, it has. And, of course, all of the show today presented by Bryant Bank in Huntsville. 2 locations, one in Jones Valley and one downtown. Make sure you visit Bryant Bank. It's not just a personal financing place. It's joining a community bank that greets you by name, treats you like family. Their local bankers put care into action to empower your potential and work to be a collaborative partner that is helping you and your family build confidence for a bright future. They are Bryant Bank. You can find them at bryantbank.com. They've got all kinds of banking needs to fit whatever your need is. And again, we are just awaiting the commissioner of the conference, Greg Sankey, to introduce Kirby Smart. And once he does, we will take him live to the top of the hour here at SEC Media Days 2022 here from the College Football Hall of Fame. And your schedule today after Kirby Smart, Billy Napier will be at the podium. Billy Napier will be there from 12 to 12:30. And then Kentucky head coach Mark Stoops will be there at 1:25 will be Mark Stoops.
Kirby, so thanks.
Here is the SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey introducing Kirby Smart.
So next up, Kirby Smart. Kirby is the defending national championship coach, obviously. He's a two-time SEC Coach of the Year. Kirby and I, post-game in Indianapolis, had an interaction, and we had two teams, so you want to be respectful. We have a victorious team and a losing team. Really energetic post-game celebration. I've never seen a head coach jumping up, running at people, and chest bumping as much as Kirby did after that victory. And he started to do the same with me, and I looked at him and said, if you do that to me, you'll probably knock me down and hurt me. So we just had a handshake moment. During that weekend in Indianapolis, his family was a part of all that happened around the game. The College Football Playoff has a foundation, supports a program called Extra Yard for Teachers. There's a 5K held every year around the College Football Playoff. I ran this year in the freezing cold, along with Kirby's wife, Mary Beth, and his oldest son, Weston. Fun to see their family experiencing the full scope of the national championship events. Georgia's played in the national championship game twice in the past 6 years, the other being here in Atlanta as a player. He led the SEC in interceptions in 1998. With 13 career interceptions. He still ranks 6th in the school's record book. When he's not coaching, as I referenced, he's a father, highly competitive in pickleball. I'll let you ask him about that. And since I made a Netflix reference yesterday, he and Mary Beth enjoy Netflix. They're fans of Ozark and currently, with their children, watching the show called Stranger Things. So it's my privilege to introduce the coach of defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart.
Well, sounds like my wife is giving all the secrets away there. I wonder why she asked me the other day if her talking about pickleball was okay. So she obviously had gotten requests from Greg. But thanks, Greg. I appreciate all you do for our conference, our game. He works tirelessly alongside of our presidents. And I'm very fortunate at University of Georgia to have one of the best presidents in the business. President Moorhead is the member or leader of so many committees. I can't even remember all the names of them, but he does a tremendous job trying to make sure that our game is safe and that things are headed in the right direction. And I appreciate what he does for us. I want to go reverse order today. So I usually thank you guys at the end. I would be remiss if I did not thank you guys for the incredible coverage you give us, and this conference is second to none. You know, I've been in other conferences, I've worked in other conferences. This is my 24th year being involved in the SEC, and it literally is the best there is, and you guys make it that way, so I really appreciate what all you guys do. I also want to take an opportunity to give a shout out for the 50th anniversary of Title IX. You know, I got a wife at home that played college basketball. That wouldn't have been possible without Title IX. And also am a girl dad. My daughter Julia is an athlete and runs cross country, plays basketball. And, you know, I want to thank the people and the leaders in the SEC who have promoted women's sports for a long time. And our women's sports programs in the SEC are incredible. most competitive there is of any conference there is out there in all sports. So I love being able to honor that anniversary as well. I'd also be remiss if I didn't talk about our opening game. You know, the Chick-fil-A kickoff game for us, we get to open against Oregon. I get to go against a longtime friend and a guy that meant so much to our program in Dan Lanning. But we open against Oregon right here in Atlanta, and we're excited for that opportunity. We get a chance to represent the SEC right off the jump. So our players are excited about that, and so am I. I'm also going to go reverse order and talk about the players that we have here today. When usually I end with that, but you know, we got a special group here. I think anybody would be proud of the players they bring. That's why you bring them. But this group is really special to me. Stetson Bennett, we all know his story. I think you guys, if you ever wanted to do a documentary, this guy's been through it. When you look at what he's done and what all he's been able to do, he's going to graduate this fall in economics. You know, he's from, I like to kid him because people think he's from Blackshear. He's actually from Nahunta. So if you want to do some research, go look up where Nahunta is, and he was a transplant to Blackshear from Nahunta down in South Georgia, and certainly a great family, and he's going to graduate in the fall, like I said. Nolan Smith is now a math major, and he'll be soon to graduate. He's come back for his senior year. What an incredible personality he has. He's one of these players that pushes our team. I tell the story all the time about our players working out, and as strength coaches and leaders in our organization, we don't like for our players to bend over. We feel like it shows weakness if you bend over during your runs. And Nolan was screaming so loud one day at our players. I had my young 10-year-old out there, Andrew, and he was trying to keep up with the players running 40s. And Nolan screamed and yelled about being bent over, and I was looking at Andrew, my son. He was bent over, and he popped up real fast. So when Nolan screams at you, you wake up quick, and he demands a lot of respect in our program because of the way he works, and he's from Savannah, Georgia. And then the third guy we were able to bring was Cedric Van Pran, who's been our center, kind of our caller of fronts. He was a tremendous guy to recruit. He does everything the right way. You know, he's from New Orleans. He's a communications major, and one of our guys that we think is a leader on our team and a part of an offensive line unit that's got a lot of guys returning. So I'm excited about those three players. I hope you'll spend time, talk with them, visit with them, and just get to have a good time with them. One other quick story I wanted to share with about Nolan. You know, he's kind of the jokester on the team, so he likes to crack jokes. This program was built to be here for a long time, and we have an unbelievable footprint with which we get to recruit. So the 5-hour radius of Athens, Georgia gives us a chance to be around some of the best football student athletes there are in the country. So we'll continue to recruit those, develop those, also going nationally. But the team that we have coming back, I've been around, done the rounds this morning. I'll bet you at least 50 people have asked me the question. So feel free when we open up for questions to ask me the concern there is for complacency. That does not concern me in the least, because to be complacent, you have to have done something and achieved something. The men on this team for this season have not done that. They have not. We had 15 players that are now gone to NFL camps or draft picks. They're gone. And we have some returning players, but they're hungry as ever. People have asked the question, how does it feel to be hunted? We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that. The hunting that we do will be done from us going the other direction. It's not something we're going to sit back and be passive about. Our guys have asked questions, and we've done a lot of studies on how the mighty have fallen. So we have skull sessions. We have 15-minute meetings, 20-minute meetings in breakout groups, and we've actually taught how the mighty have fallen. I'm talking about in business, I'm talking about in sports, I'm talking about in history. So you learn from the mistakes of others, and for us, it really steers down to one cultural belief, that we have a connection that's greater than our opponent. We're all going to be tough. We're all going to be physical in the SEC. But can we be better connected together? Can we have 1 + 1 = 3? Because for us, 1 + 1 = 3 means we get more together than we do apart. And this team believes that. I'm excited about this team because there's a lot of opportunity. People say, do you have the talent? Do you have enough talent within your program? We've got plenty of talent. What we lack right now is experience. That's our job as coaches, to put those guys in a position to be successful and react in a calm manner and have the experience they need to go play well against Oregon. That game will help set us up for our SEC gauntlet that we have coming up after that. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
All right, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Allie, Lexi, and Blake will get a microphone to you. And so we'll start right here on the front aisle. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Donnell Suggs, Atlanta Business Chronicle. Just wanted to ask you, what did you learn during the title run that can help you all this upcoming season?
Well, I think the biggest thing is time management for us during that time. You know, we probably did more work in that championship run than we did in previous years. So the previous playoff we had, we didn't practice as many days in pads. We didn't condition as much as we did in this one. We felt like that was a very integral part to our team, is could we be the best conditioned team when we played Michigan? Could we be the best conditioned team when we played Alabama? And that was something that we really honed in on and thought was important. And our players bought into it. You know, you can't go in a room and say, hey guys, we're going to run extra after practice, and they're going to feel good about it. They got to believe it. So we had a small group that felt like that was important, and they did it. And that was probably the one thing pushing the guys at the end of the year more than we usually do.
Coach, we'll go over here to our left, second row.
Coach, you said after the Lance McCurley, Oconee News, you said after the spring game that this team needed to find its own identity. And with fall camp just around the corner, do you have any indication of what this team's identity might be heading into this upcoming season?
Yeah, hungry. I talked about it earlier. I mean, there's a hunger among this group that a lot of guys want to prove that they can replace the other guy. And they don't want to be the other guy, they want to be the next guy. And you look across the board, we had some really high-profile players, really on defense and offense, when you count the backs and the receivers, that we have to replace those guys. And the hunger comes from the opportunity the talented players behind them have. And I'm excited. That's why complacency is something that happens to people that don't look what's going on. We don't have that problem. There's not a day that we don't wake up and think, what can we do better to make our program better? And our players are doing that right now.
Okay, we're going to go over here on the right side on the far aisle. Steve.
Hey, Coach. Steve Moulton, WZZN from Huntsville, Alabama. I noticed second game of the year you're playing Samford and Coach Hatcher as well. If you could talk about your experiences at Valdosta State in the Gulf South Conference and kind of coming full circle, if you will, in game two.
Well, how long you got? Because I could tell you about a 20-hour bus ride I took to Arkadelphia. I could tell you about Texarkana. I can tell you about all the different places I went in Mississippi that I didn't know existed. But it's where I cut my teeth as a coach. And there were some really long bus rides. We built our own lockers. I was hired for $5,000, and he later promoted me to $10,000 after I did academics and did a salary cap on Division II, which you work off equivalencies. You don't have full rides. I learned a lot while I worked at Valdosta State, and you only learn trial by fire. And I certainly appreciate Coach Hatcher for giving me that opportunity. He's at Samford, which is my father's alma mater, and my dad played at Samford and was a college football player there. So it's always unique when we get to play Samford because my dad gets to pull for his old school. And Hatcher's a good friend, and he's done a tremendous job.
Coach, we're going to go right in front of you on this near aisle. Johnny.
Good morning, Coach. Johnny Ballpark Franks with Franks Media in Nashville and Huntsville. You alluded to this earlier. You've been a part of national championship programs with Georgia and Alabama. I'm curious, you've also seen the other side of that coin. What's the biggest differences and similarities in the offseason and being able to manage expectations as you prepare for an upcoming season?
I think they're all different. You know, I go back to my first year at LSU. People don't realize they were coming off a national title. I was not part of that, but we had a tremendous team coming back, like uber talented, a lot of draft picks. That was probably one of the toughest jobs that's ever been, because you had complacency. You had guys that were going to be first-round picks no matter how they played, off of how they played the year they won the national championship. And then you fast forward through the 4 that were able to win in Alabama. You have experience. Right now, our staff at Georgia, I have a tremendous staff, probably the best staff I've ever had since I've been there in terms of continuity. Okay, we had 4 coaches change, but the 4 new coaches we've gotten have really jumped on board, grabbed things. They know how to manage this situation. We've got 3 or 4 coaches who've done this before in terms of having won a championship and understanding what it takes to do it again. And it's really, every situation is different, because I've been on teams that had a lot of talent coming back, and I've had a lot of them that had to replace talent. We're having to replace a lot of really good football players. Great news is we've recruited well. We've got good football players. We need experience. But what I love about it is complacency is not the concern. Experience is the concern. And our kids will buy into that, and we'll get them ready in fall camp.
Coach, we'll go over here to our left and third row.
Coach, Ben Portnoy from the State newspaper in Columbia. You've obviously known Will Muschamp for a long time. I guess just what does he bring as a co-defensive coordinator this year? And I guess how has he kind of added to the program since y'all brought him on board last year?
Yeah, Will's been a tremendous asset for me as a head coach, because you value people who have been in your seat. So Todd Monken's been a head coach. You know, Matt Luke was that way for us as well. He'd been a head coach. Mel Tucker had been in a lot of roles before he left us. So I value that experience he's had and understanding the do's and don'ts, things, ways to do things, how to practice, how you run your organization, and also it gives you ability to delegate too. You've got to take some things off your hand. I can focus my attention in other areas if I know he's in charge of something, because he's done it, and he's been unbelievable. He's a great staff guy. He's super positive with our players. Players enjoy and love being around Coach Muschamp, and I'm just very thankful that he and his family are on our staff and with our program.
Coach, we're going to go over to our right in the middle. Here we go. Just go right here on the middle aisle.
Coach John Bednarowski, Marietta Daily Journal. Eric Gilbert seemed to have a lot of positive momentum going through the spring. How's the rest of his offseason gone, and what do you expect from him in the fall?
Well, I expect him to give us an A effort every day. And when you give an A grade effort and you got the talent that he has, it's a great combination. You know, he's a tremendous athlete. He's had to do some extra conditioning. He was a little heavy for the spring, and he's worked really hard on bringing that down. He had a really good year academically, which was a big hurdle. He had to focus on his